We love to talk about success on Odyssey House Journals because it basically is a program just to talk about addiction and recovery, and hopefully to provide hope to people that people do recover from addiction. And that's our focus today. We even have a studio audience, right, of one. You can't see it, but Jonathan is our guest, and his sister is here. Got like a little applause. If this was a game show, see, that's for you, Jonathan. Welcome, everyone. I'm Randall Carlisle, your host. My co-host, Nicole Slack. Hello, Nicole.
Hello.
Are you nervous because of the audience?
I'm ready for her laugh track.
And Jonathan is our guest. Welcome.
Thank you.
It was nice of you to bring your sister.
Yeah. So it's good to have somebody that judges me without the criticism, yeah.
And that's your sister?
Yeah.
Okay.
What about us?
I think we're more like a team. You're kind of like my boss and Jess.
No, we're not judgmental. And the point of this podcast is to talk about the fact that you have been successfully dealing with addiction and you're in recovery, and to prove that anybody can do it if they work hard enough, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
Would you? So let's start with when did your addiction begin? At what age and what was it?
I don't know when my addiction began, because I think when it got abusive was like maybe when I was 18, 19, where I started to rely on it. It wasn't just like some for the weekend, it was recreational. I think that when I started hanging out with friends, where it went to, hey, we're going to do anything possible to continue this trip. I think that was around 18, 19 years old.
How old are you now?
When did you first try substances, though?
Probably like 9 years old. Smoked some weed. Liked it, but it wasn't like something I would go out of way to like spend any money that I earned, like doing chores, like to go out and get it. Because, I mean, football and basketball and baseball was life at that age. So it wasn't something that I depended on if it was around. It wasn't something that I went out to go purchase.
Okay. And so how long did when it finally became a detrimental addiction, how long did that last?
I think it lasted till about last year. Yeah, because I became a functioning addict because I could go to work. A lot of people that I hired on to work with me were also my same friends that we use. So we just switched the substance, but the state of mind was always the same, whether it went from weed to alcohol was the constant staple. So if we got way too high on coke or meth or anything, right, it was, hey, we're going to start work tomorrow. We got to level out. And then we start drinking heavily, to where when we showed up to work, we weren't all too energetic, right? Maybe we have a Red Bull by us to hide the addiction of having energy, but we were able to control ourselves enough to complete the job at hand.
That sounds like a functional alcoholic to me. That's what I used to do that too. But you see, the point was, you said, okay, we've got to be somewhat sober to do this job, but then we can start drinking heavily, right?
Yeah, I think that transition when we're around 18, 19, so even going to jail and having substance come in there, right, you would still have to show up to court. But to play off your sobriety to where you're talking to your lawyers or to other people so they don't tell on you for being high. I think when I start trying to manage that addiction is the problem, because getting away with managing it let me like take it also home too, to where I was in relationships and I was going to church, doing the work, the family thing. But behind the scenes, like, I was like, hey, I need to use bathroom, where they got out to go to the car and get ready to go somewhere. I'd be off taking a extra drink, not being able to contain it to just, hey, I'm feeling good. This is it. I go drink. So I was like, the fastest way to get messed up was what I was trying to do, like whatever got me there.
I can relate to that.
Same.
You can too.
Yeah. That last pull before, like,
Yeah.
I'll just meet you guys out there and then just quickly, just like
Right.
one more shot and then I'm good.
Even if you're going to a party where you know you're going to drink.
Oh, yeah.
You drink before you drink,
You got a pregame.
right?
Yeah, because it was like if we were going camping, I was like, man, going up to the Uinta is this 2-hour drive. I was like, this high ain't gonna last 2 hours. So I slug it, right? And then if I was like a little bit drunk, I do a bump and I'm like, all right, she won't be able to tell that I'm drunk. But like, you know, just like going in the car and someone's like, hey, why are you sweating? I was like, this is hot in here. I'm sad. You know, there's so many justifications of like my telltale signs. And for somebody who didn't do drugs or came from that background, they just thought I was weird.
Sure.
You know, and they're like, oh, he's just weird. So they even justify the behavior, and that enabled me to even go further into it. And I think that's when I finally came down to the crash of losing it all, going to prison. I was like, hey, man, like something has to change.
Was that the motivation for change? Was going to prison or losing relationships or what?
I think for me, it changes daily, and it has to for me because, I mean, I got multi-personalities or my brain just functions a different way, and different things have different values every day. So like today, it'd be like, hey, I'm going out to help people. And that's good enough for me. You know, it's like, hey, the longevity of this program is getting the word out so people utilize this program. I'm not selected to who gets to use Odyssey. It's for everybody. And that's how Odyssey is going to stay open, is giving them the information out there that there's something for everybody. And for that, for me, is good enough for me to do what I have to do today. Tomorrow, it could be wanting to rebuild my relationship. As long as that motivation each day is progressive towards the total goal that I want to achieve, that's okay for me. It doesn't have to be more than that. So tomorrow, if it's like, hey, today I'm going to just work so me and my daughter can rebuild my relationship, my focus is that's good enough. It doesn't have to be more than that. It doesn't have to be, hey, I have to do it for my daughter. I have to do it for treatment and to rely on my sobriety. Those things are going to come just thinking about my daughter.
How is your relationship with your daughter?
Yeah, it's great. You know, I'm about to be a grandfather in a
No
couple
kidding.
of weeks, and I think that gives me stress. You know, but it goes beyond words what Odyssey did for me. Like right now, like not having things to provide for her when I always have in my life is really hard. But there's no trigger to like, hey, go out there and hustle, right? It's the dialogue of having sobriety and me and her talking daily is worth more than anything that I could give her material-wise.
Sure.
Right? So, like,
How old is she?
she's 20.
And so she saw you through some of your bad times.
Yeah, she has.
And do you talk about that now, or?
Yeah,
I mean, when did you first start honestly and soberly talking to her about your addiction?
I think me and her's always been real, and that's why the connections always stayed open. You know, like we discussed like, hey, she hated what I did and what I became, but at the same time, she's like, hey, do you see how like what I hated, I also dated Dad because I wanted that connection with a dad. That, you know, her boyfriend, he's tattooed up. He hasn't got in trouble, but like the similarities are there that I can't ignore. Like, you know. He's this cool kid. He's easygoing. He's very charismatic. His dialogue can adapt to anybody to where he can conversate. And I was like, man, that kid has a lot of things in common with me. And even though me and my daughter had indifferences, she still chose a man that kind of reflected me. You know, so like I dug deep into that, and I was like, hey, maybe if I was a better man, she would have chose a better man. But that would like devalue my daughter's decision making, and I want her to know that whatever choice she made was a good decision, and it's not because, hey, these are circumstantial decisions. You know, this is a decision that you made as your own as a woman. But I couldn't appreciate that if I was in addiction, because I would have just seen myself and started criticizing.
Sure.
Yeah. But I value her decision. It's somebody that she has met with emotional intelligence. She met it with logic, and she's happy, which is that's good enough for me.
Yes.
Yeah.
How hard was it for you to get sober? Describe the battles you went through.
I don't think getting sober was ever a problem. I think
Maybe I should say staying in recovery.
yeah, I think my choice selection of like how I wanted to rebuild, like every time that I get incarcerated or I lost something, like going out and getting a normal job wouldn't help me keep up with the Joneses of where I thought my age and my status of life should be. And I think that always drew me back into the hustle to where I like, all right, I need a car, I need a place, and I'm not gonna get the woman that I want, like just working this kind of job, you know? And them are the three things that I heavily relied on was a place, a car, and being in a relationship. Like I wasn't good being by myself because that would only end up being at my brother's or at a friend, ruining their relationship, selling them a dream. Like, hey, bro, let's go out and get it. You're struggling right now. Like, this ain't us, you know. And just using my leadership for my own selfish gains and not caring what it did to their families, you know.
Cool.
So what are you doing now? You're in IOP, GOP?
Yeah.
And are you working?
No, I just got done getting peer certified.
No way.
Yeah, I did 40 hours last week, so
Very cool.
I'm not just waiting. Yeah, I worked for the team.
That's so cool.
So what are you going to use that? How are you going to use that? Are you going to work at Odyssey or?
Yeah, of course. Just to, to the least I could do is to water a tree that I got shade from somebody else planted, you know. And I like keep that in mind. A lot of people have trouble when they come into Odyssey, but like I want to keep my word. Like when I came into admissions, and I didn't even read all the rules, right? I just signed it because I just wanted to get out of the situation that I was in. But during treatment, and I was listening to all these people or to my peers, and they complained about a lot of stuff. And I didn't want to be that person. Like when I grew up, like my grandpa's medicine for everything was drink water. If I got hurt outside or I broke my leg or I got beat up, he was like, drink water. And I think I got my sense of humor from that because like there's nothing else you can do. I was like, hey man, my older brothers just beat me up. And he was like, drink some water, read the Bible. And I was like, what is that? Well, like whip their butts. Grandpa's like, no, you just drink water and think about it. And I think throughout my whole life, I was able to like take a sense of humor with me of like, hey, this toughens me up is to drink water. And so when I seen everybody like struggles with like what all the accountability held in Odyssey, I was like, I can either complain or I can drink some water and think about this. And then that's how I did it. I was like, just drink some water, man. There's nothing else I got to do. I still have to do this treatment. Now, I can either drink water or do it, or I can sit here and complain and be thirsty the whole damn time. So I can just drink some water and then take it with a grain of salt.
You must have drank a lot of water.
Yeah, I drank a lot of water. I guess that's why I was never late for UA.
UA, for those of you who don't know, it's urine analysis drug test. So, and like, there were times when I had to do a UA that you didn't feel like peeing, but I guess if you kept drinking water all the time, you were always ready, right?
It just transitioned, and I made it work to align with the UA. But it's really the struggles that I was having inside. I was like, well, hey, you got to hold somebody accountable. I was like, oh, man, they'll figure it out. They're like, well, you're going to have to figure it out because you're not helping them if you don't hold them accountable. And I sat there and I was like, I didn't really know what to do. I'd rather argue, and I was just against any kind of authority. But I was like, you know what, drink some water, buy into this program, and then like I couldn't make a informed decision being uninformed. So I was like, all right, listen to everything they're saying. So when you do argue with them, that there's some substance and there's some context behind it. But little did I know, I was getting tricked because the more I listened to them, the more I started drinking this Kool-Aid. So I guess it went from water to Kool-Aid, and I bought into it. And I was like, all right, this works all right, you know? And it's just my stubbornness that just took it like slowly and like, all right, this works. And then seeing it firsthand was different, you know? And then it was like a blind man that's always been blind trying to tell you how a dog looks. Like they could feel on the dog, but they couldn't really tell you. But if somebody was blind before, like had eyesight, then got blind, they would feel that dog and know that it was a dog because they saw before. And I think that those lived experiences from prior clients that turned into staff, that correlation of having to be able to relate with me, to saying, hey, I've been there before. I think that changed me. I was like, all right, they did this too. And maybe it was my ego at the time, but like I said, anything to help me get to the next day. I was like, this guy thinks he's better than me, that he did this program better than me. I'm going to do this program better than him. And then that was good enough for me just to get to the next day. And the more they revealed their story, the more empathetic that I got and the less I sympathized with my past. And I was like, hey, man, we have more in common than we don't have in common. And I'm starting to like this guy, you know? And yeah.
Pure support works better than drinking water, I guess, huh?
Yeah.
Yeah. I've noticed, and you've talked about this too, Nicole, is that people initially in the program sound exactly like Jonathan did, and you were like that too. I was too. Like, describe the feelings when you first get into the program.
Just a lot of, what is going on? Why are they telling me to do all this? No, I'm not going to tell on everyone. I'm an adult. You can't tell me to do that. Like, I'm going to do things the way I know is safe for me. And finally just lots of therapy and caring about my peers enough to be like, if you call me out on mine, I call you out on yours in a loving way. And it takes a minute, though. It took me a hot minute. I think 46 days in orientation.
Really?
Yeah.
How long were you in orientation?
Probably a week.
Probably like, I think like 2 weeks. I flew through the levels pretty fast. I think my curiosity helped me out a lot because like wanting to learn, maybe like show the therapist like, hey, he's taking accountability. But I just like when I put my mind to it, like I try to perfect like whatever I'm doing as my trade or my craft. Like I learned that when I talk like this, I have trouble coming across, but I learned like through the Mass Project, if I talked with like a British accent, like the dialogue is always perfect, right? Like, hey chap, what are you doing? And I could talk like that and I could read perfectly like that. And I was like, why do I talk perfect when I talk in like a British accent? I don't even know if it does them any justice. But what I learned was I didn't want to represent those people bad because they always sounded smart, right? I was like, I don't want to be a bad James Bond. But when I talked in that British accent, right, my conversations flowed a lot smoother. And I was like, I wonder why that is. It's because I judge my American, because I'm an American and there's expectations that I have for myself as an American. But when I'm playing a different role, right, to myself as my therapy, like I'm like, hey, Jonathan, let's go ahead and let's go ahead and think about this. Let's go ahead and process this. Because in England, this is what we do. And in America, I mean, I don't know what you bloody blokes are getting taught, but it's all wrong, you know? And I can talk like that. And I was like, why is that? And I was like, hey, there's something there that I got to figure out. And it's that I'm a giver. Like I'll do something for somebody else that I wouldn't do for myself. And identifying my identity through that is like, all right, you give to where it's detrimental to yourself. Like if you had $5 and you seen somebody hungry, but you needed it to survive, Jonathan, you're gonna die. Your little bleeding heart's gonna give that $5 away and probably go commit a crime thinking that you can get that back. But it's digging myself in a hole. So I was like, hey man, let's take that representation of what you want to do for other people. And so I kind of like everywhere I go, it's like, hey man, I represent Odyssey, right? And so if I have to talk in a British accent to represent these people, right, then that's what you do, Jonathan, because your American side is failing pretty bad, and the problem why you guys joined up in World War II to win. So it's all right for me, and I use that. Like I even, I talk to myself in your voice sometimes, like, all right, I'm going down there, turn around and I'm like, Jonathan, I think it's really imperative of you to come down here and help out. And it's just the way I process stuff. And I mean, there's others. I talk to myself as Shelly sometimes, who is like my therapist and my lead, and Sarah V, Jessica. I just hear the voice when I'm not listening to my own voice of reason. It's all right for me to take on somebody else's identity and then talk to myself to where I'll listen like that. And that only could come from the lessons that I was taught by Jessica, Sarah East, listen to Daniel's story. I didn't know Daniel was just in treatment 6 years ago, and to see him as a program director at Mill Creek, listening to his story, I was like, 5 years ago he was right here. I didn't even have a 5-year plan, and just listening to that, it was like nothing therapeutic that was coming across. It was just listening to a story, and it kind of gave me like, hey, here's a sense of direction till you get your own direction, and just going to Jets and the outreach. I was like, all right, here's $20. I can go and eat at Crown Burgers or go to gamble, which is just instant gratification, but I'm gonna have to find something after that, right? Or I could send this $20 on a book, and the next podcast or the next film or the next sharing of my story enriches the next person. I was like, I don't know where that change could go for that person and not for me. It helps me to see somebody else smile, but I don't know if that helps them any further. And then that's good enough for me. It's better than wasting my time on something that's just for that instant. And the potential.
You do the British accent very well,
I don't think the British people feel like that,
I don't mean to embarrass you, but we talked about something before we started the podcast that blew me away, and that was a dietary issue.
Yeah.
You're talking about the fact that you love mayonnaise on a lot of stuff.
I love mayonnaise, man.
I'm trying to figure out does this have anything to do with addiction or treatment, and I don't think it does. But
yeah, I think. Well,
You think mayonnaise is
I went through so
great?
much different mayonnaise. I was like, all right, I know where best foods comes from Helaman's, because in Oklahoma they sell Helaman's. Kraft could be a substitute. I don't like these cucumber stuff that they put with. I just like pure mayonnaise that's whipped up from eggs and salt, no oil. I mean, there's.
And how'd you get into mayonnaise, though? And it came from your roots, right?
Yeah, I think well, in thought, like everything that's cooked with fat is from coconut milk, and that's how we oil our food. Over here, there's not that many coconuts, so we just took half and half and mixed it with mayonnaise, and it kind of gives that flavoring, and
Similar to coconut milk.
yeah, I mean, I don't know if
Your sister's nodding her head yes.
Yeah.
So
I don't know. I think maybe it's like something out of my expertise or beyond my intelligence. I think it just triggers something in your brain, like how you can smell a plant and it can remind you of your childhood. I think maybe like it just hits the same connections in your brain to where it probably doesn't even taste like I haven't even tasted coconut milk that's cooked in coconut milk. But for right now, that's what I think it could taste. I could probably go back to Dawn and taste that food and be like, dude, this is some garbage right here. But I know that it started from that,
And you've actually frozen mayonnaise.
And ate it like ice cream, of course, man.
I realize
that's just. I mean,
we've never talked about anything like this in a podcast.
Spanish people like put tapatio and hot sauce and Tabasco on there. I put mayonnaise on everything, But I mean And it's to see I use that too. I'm like, all right, like if you are what you eat, right? And I'm mayonnaise, so but like to take it on a bigger scale, I'm also the music I listen to because it changes the way I talk. I'm also the TV I watch too. I am what I eat. So if I'm sitting here and I eat up everything that treatment has from me, then I'm treatment to somebody else too.
Okay. That makes
I watch a
sense.
lot of true crime.
Yeah.
So
Just don't watch Snaps, you know?
Yeah.
I mean, but it's how you look at it. If you watch true crime, I mean, you're seeing the cognitive processing that these guys have to go through, the doubt in themselves that, hey, you have 48 hours to cover this, or it's a 90% chance that this guy's going to get away with this crime. You know how much pressure you take on at that job, you know, and they start to see everybody for their job. And I was listening to a podcast this was like 6 months ago. I was sitting up there in admissions, and I don't know who you guys had, and I didn't even know it was a podcast. But the guy was like, "Man, I'm really sorry that I put that judge in that position to judge me." And I was like, "Man, that's pretty deep." You know, I was like, to think about the judge having to judge you, and I was like, "Hey, if they're a really good person, right? It's like." It hurts to go home and know that you sent somebody to prison. And like, man, I really believe their stories, but I can't not hold them accountable for what they did to other people. It's not more of a crime and punishment, but it's what our judicial system built up as, hey, man, I don't argue about something that I didn't work hard. Like if I don't ever like be derogatory towards our president, because I didn't do the work to become president. You know, I'm like, he did the work to get there, regardless of what his views are. He earned that position. It's not for me to sit here and judge that person, you know.
So what's the best thing about being sober and being in recovery for you?
Then I exercise my First Amendment, man, the right way, you know, instead of going out there and just yelling and acting crazy. It's like my freedom of speech, like choosing what I want to be. And appreciating that it's that everybody around me contributes to me finding myself, you know, instead of like saying that they're taking away something, they're stopping me, or they're being an obstacle. The only obstacle is me not making that connection. And I think I love seeing it like that, to where everything's a connection. If there's an obstacle, I'm not taking the time enough to know that person to make that connection.
Did you ever think of doing a comedy routine?
No, I think my first part. I think my first part of my life was that. There's this joke, right? He goes, guy comes into treatment, and they're like, "Hey, what are you here for?" And he goes, "Nothing." They're like, "Well, are you an alcoholic?" He goes, "No." And he goes, "Do you do hard drugs?" He goes, "No." He goes, "Do you have any behavior problems?" He goes, "No." He goes, "So what are you doing here?" He goes, "I just lie a lot." and I think that was me coming into treatment, right? I was like, I just wanted to sound like the perfect client. They're like, "Well, I didn't really do that." My buddies kind of like, me and them did it together. But, you know, I was like, and it was hard to like, hey, your personality didn't let nobody influence you. You know, and it was all just you. And,
Well, keep up the good work. Our half hour is up already, believe it or not. So I'm sure there's a million things we didn't talk about that you'd like to, right?
probably not.
Jonathan, thank you for sharing with everyone. Nicole, very nice to see you again. I'm glad you got through the orientation part of your program, so
Me too.
so that you're a nice, peaceful, wonderful person now. So sometimes. Thanks, guys, and thank you for watching or listening to another edition of Odyssey House Journals.